What is up, guys? Welcome back to the 161 Report podcast. I'm joined with my co-host Bobby. We have a special guest today, Olivia King.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. I believe we collaborated on a post, right? Last like the beginning of right at the beginning of the season, and that's kind of how we connected. So it's cool that you guys are having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so obviously just asking you a few questions and then we'll kind of go from there. So I have my first question. I just want to know like what got you into the whole music scene and how like have you always had a passion for that or is that just something you've grown into?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I always had a passion for it. I started singing in church back in third grade. That's when I got my first solo, and it was my first ever performance. And ever since then, I just really found a love for performing. And my parents actually told me that I didn't need to go to college if I didn't want to because they knew what I already had a passion for, and it wasn't really something you needed schooling for. But at the time, I was like, oh, my friends are doing it. I should do it just in case. And so I did. But all throughout my 4 years of college, I was doing music and I made amazing connections in college. My backup dancers, producers, songwriters, like everyone that I still work with today, I met in college. So it ended up being a good investment. But yeah, I really started taking it seriously back in 2017, so about 6 or so years ago now, is when I released my first single, and I've just been really consistent with it ever since. That's kind of what I preach to anyone that asks me for advice, especially as an independent artist. It's like if you are consistent with something, whether you're an artist, whether you do anything, if you're consistent, you're bound to be successful. So that's what I've done.
Nice. It's awesome. So I being independent, I didn't even plan on asking this, but yeah, obviously there's some struggles with that, I would say. Well, I don't know if struggles is the right word, but instead of being with a label, it's definitely more difficult to get different opportunities, I'm sure, right?
For sure. I think back in the day, the term independent almost had a negative connotation. And it was like,
Mhm.
oh, well, clearly a major label doesn't want to sign you. So you're just going to do this independently. But now it's like completely different where artists look at labels and they're scared because they see these deals that were done back in the day that screw people over. And now more and more people are seeing how much they can do on their own and keep 100% of the profits. And I think just with social media and everything blowing up in the past decade, it's completely changed the music industry, and the labels have kind of had to adjust and be like, okay, wait, how can we still sign these artists? So that was kind of like my crossroads, my tipping point, I guess I would say, is back in 2017 when I released my first single. Right before then, I was about to sign a deal with a label, had my family over, my brother over, um, and it fell through. As we were eating dinner, I got an email saying like, "Hey, we're pulling out of the deal," and I was crushed. And I just looked to my husband with like tears in my eyes, and he's like, "Liv, you can do this yourself. You've been doing it yourself the whole time. You just think you need someone else to help you, and you don't." I was like, "Okay." And so that's what I did. We had a whole wall full of sticky notes in our house with all marketing ideas for my first single, and we tried every single one of them. Everything from the usual, just getting your song on Spotify playlists, to blowing up a huge sign with my face and name and song title on it and putting it like in an overpass over the highway as a makeshift billboard. Like we tried everything, and that single got 500,000 streams on Spotify. And I was like, okay, there's definitely something to this. I didn't put much money into it. I just got really creative. And so that's, I think, like when it comes to being independent, there's definitely a lot of perks in that you can try all of these crazy ideas and run with your own ideas and be on your own time. But obviously, there's some cons too with you don't have as big of a budget as a major label, so you gotta get creative. So I have been independent now for 6 years. I don't see myself changing because it is going well, but I always say I'm never it's never like a closed no. We
Yeah.
can have some discussions, but I've just been really happy with everything that has kind of transpired since that deal that fell through.
Yeah. Everything happens for a reason. So, and then it get led
Yes.
to you to this point, which is cool. I was
Yeah.
gonna ask if you ever thought about if you would ever think about doing signing, but yeah, I mean, you're doing well now, so. And
Yeah,
I
I
like the idea of just doing everything on your own terms too. I feel like
Yeah,
that.
totally. And I think for someone like me who I release a song just about every month, every 3 to 4 weeks or so, with a label, there's no way I could be doing that. Like I can crank it, like I have my own home studio, photo studio, recording studio, like I have everything so I can just crank things out. And I feel like with a label, it's just a lot of time taken where people have to approve things, and it wouldn't be such a fast flow to get all of the music out that I want to. So that's definitely a perk.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely great. I had a question off of your response to Bobby's question. When you had said that you got denied from from the record label, they pulled out. How did you keep going? Like, what was like that had to have crushed you?
Yeah, it definitely did. But there's never, I think my mom asked me some questions similar to this. But like, oh, did you ever think about giving up? But like, no, never. That was never a thought in my mind of like, oh God, what's my plan B? Even though I went to college, I didn't see that as my plan B. It was more just like a growth journey, we'll call it. Like, I didn't see that as, oh, I'm going to get a degree. So just in case music doesn't work out, I have something to fall back on. Like, music was always my plan A and never really had a plan B. It definitely crushed me, but I think like, I'm going to use like a Tom Brady example. Like, he had that chip on his shoulder from going in, what was it, the 12th round, and then he becomes the greatest of all time. Like, I think I almost needed that little chip on my shoulder to just give me a kick in the butt and realize that I can do this on my own.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's awesome because I would say, I don't know about most people, but having that mindset of exactly using that as motivation to not like show them that they made a mistake, but it's something similar to just keep grinding and not stop at all, not letting that bring you down at all. I love that. That's awesome.
Thank you. I try.
So,
Oh, go Kyle.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I had another question. So obviously with making music comes where your brother comes into all of this. I heard it last season. I was at Yankee Stadium. Michael King comes out of the bullpen, and we hear the song. We got to know the backstory about this because I mean I've heard small bits and pieces here and there that it was a present for him, but I would rather just you explain this. I would love to hear it.
Yeah, for sure. So back when he played college ball at BC, every year he would come to me and say, "Liv, you got a walkout song for me." Uh, it would just be something every year where he would ask me, and we'd go through tens to hundreds of songs for him to choose from. And I would try to give him my best recommendations. And finally, he was like, "Look, I would stop asking you every year if you just made me one." I'm like, all right, yeah, whatever. We laughed about it. And then I think the following year after he said that, I saw The Roots on Jimmy Fallon and they had Derek Jeter on and they made him like 3 walkout songs. The first 2 were like silly. And then the third one, they rocked it and it was amazing. And I was like, wow, if we could make something like that third song they made Derek Jeter, that would be super cool. So I sent the episode to a producer that I work with from college. His name's Toye. And I said, hey, I know this might sound crazy. My brother's only in college ball right now, but I call it a sister's intuition. I was saying this before. Like, I knew that he was going to make it. And so I said to this producer, I'm like, hey, it's going to be worth your time. Here's the episode from Jimmy Fallon. I want something with this kind of vibe. I think it would be so dope. And he's like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm in. So he made the beat for me. He sent it back. And I was like, okay, this definitely calls for a rapper, and I'm not gonna try to rap on this. So I was like, I gotta get my idea out though. So I started writing. I did the melody. I had the like, you messing with the king. I had that. And then I had the flow of the verse. And I'm like, okay, I know how I want this to sound. Let me I need to go find that demo because oh Lord. I did a demo of the rap and I sent it to my friend Maystar and I was like, hey, gave him the whole same spiel that I gave the producer. I know it sounds crazy, but I believe in my brother. I think we can take this to the top. Once he's at the top, I'm gonna go as hard as I can for this song. He was like, yeah, I'm in. Let's do it. So we ended up filming the music video the same day and time that we were actually recording the song. So in the our like music video that we did, that was all kind of in real time of us actually recording the song. We didn't have much time before Christmas when I wanted to give my brother this gift. And so I unveiled it to him. We had the whole music video all shot and edited. We put a blanket over the TV in our house. And on Christmas Eve is when me and my brother always exchange gifts, because then Santa's the next day. So we always want to make it like a special thing for us on Christmas Eve. So we exchanged and I unveiled it on the TV with the whole music video and everything. He was just hitting my leg so hard. He's like, Liv, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I remember like getting chills, like, dude, calm down. You're hitting me a little hard. But he seems to really like it and he claims it's the best song he's ever heard. But I think he might be a little biased. But I really think that like this song is now 8 years old, I believe. And it's really just stood the test of time. It's not a song that there are a lot of songs, especially as an artist, you go back and you're like, oh, this one, for some reason, I feel like we made a classic and it can stand the test of time, which is really awesome. So yeah, Maystar just put his flair on it, helped me out to really execute it how I wanted to. And Mike's used it ever since, which is really cool.
That's amazing. Were you there the first time it was played at Yankee Stadium?
So he got called up right before COVID. So when he initially got called up, we went obviously hope to see him pitch, but he didn't get in that series. So then they went, I believe it was to Texas or something, and that's where he got his first start, and I wasn't there. So
Okay, okay.
The first time I heard it, I don't know if it
Yeah.
was played in the stadium prior to, but the first time I heard it was a couple of years ago. He pitched on opening day, and I believe it was like Easter or the day before Easter, something like that. And I just remember not only seeing my brother pitch for the first time in Yankee Stadium, which is so cool, but then to like hear the song that we wrote for him, like it was so wild, and I just got full body chills, and I remember getting a little choked up. I'm like, wow, we did this. Like we manifested this. Everything that I wanted to see come true is coming true, and then some now, which has just been crazy.
Wow, I can't even imagine that. That's amazing. Because
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, you were talking about it for close to like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Talking about how he's gonna make or how he wanted to make the Yankees, and then finally everything coming full circle there.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
What's even crazier is that he was initially drafted to the Marlins. And when we created this song prior to him being traded to the Yankees,
Yeah.
I always said, like, we're gonna hear this in Yankee Stadium. I know we are, both of us. And there was nothing in the cards for him to even be drafted to the Marlins at that time or to be traded to the Yankees. It was just something that we envisioned and manifested and eventually made happen.
Yeah, that's honestly incredible. And it kind of comes to my next question. How like so obviously we are very used to Michael King. We know everything about him. We're kind of, constantly just running what we do here. We're constantly talking about him, constantly seeing him. And then of course we see you on Instagram and all the other socials. My question is like, so both of you guys made your dreams come true. He's pitching for the Yankees. You're an independent singer and songwriter. How how is that? Just like, you grew up with him. He's just like any other, family, just how it goes. But how is it seeing it now? Like, as you guys are adults and you're both living out your dream. I just, how is that?
Honestly, it like gets me emotional sometimes. I was in the kitchen last week and the Frank Sinatra song New York came on as I was like cleaning. And I'm thinking to myself, and that's the song that plays at the end of every Yankee game. And I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, like my brother plays on the Yankees and like our song comes on in Yankee Stadium. And like, I was just listening to New York, being like, wow, sometimes I feel like you just need to kind of bask in the moment because sometimes when you're in it, you get caught up in it and you're not really like sitting back and being like, wow, this is actually really cool. And so I texted him and I was like, I just want to, this sounds so corny, but I'm like, I am listening to New York right now. And I'm like, I just thinking of how proud of you I am. It's crazy that this has happened, but I mean, he all not just has the talent, but his work ethic is insane. Like I think that's where he can outshine others that might not get to the level that he's at. I think it's his work ethic, and then also he is like steel. Like he claims he doesn't get nervous. I don't know how. I like in a stadium full of 40,000 people or however many people it seats, like he claims he doesn't get nervous. I think he works really well under pressure and he's got really thick skin. Like he was made for this. He's not one of those players that like, oh, people are commenting and he gets, all butt hurt. Like he is not like that at all. I feel that for him. If I see someone comment something, I'm so close to being like, you have no idea what you're talking about. But I don't. But like he's just so calm, cool, and collected when it comes to that. And on top of it, he's just a really hard worker. So that's been something that he's had since he was a little kid. Like I don't think when he was pitching in the little league he ever got nervous, and he always just really cared about it. And I think that's essentially what has brought him to the success he's had now.
And I would say that for you too. You have to say that your work ethic too. You can't just talk. You have to take some credit too.
Thank you. Yeah, I
Your
think
work ethic has brought you to this point as well. So it's not just him. It
yeah,
obviously runs in the family, runs between.
yeah, my dad started his own business. He was actually a television news anchor. We moved around quite a bit. Finally came to Rhode Island after a few moves, and my mom was like, "We're done moving. If you want to move, you can, but me and the kids are staying here." So he was like, "Okay, I'm staying here." And he ended up losing his job as a television news anchor, and he started an ice cream business with his grandmother's recipe. And I think just us seeing that kind of entrepreneurial spirit and how hard he had to work to actually provide for a family of four. My dad's work ethic and seeing that, I think both of us probably picked up on. My mom has a great work ethic too, but my dad just being the entrepreneur and seeing how hard he always worked, I feel like he kind of instilled that in both of us.
That's awesome. Kind of off track a little bit, but you had mentioned about like looking at social media and stuff. Being someone with a big following, obviously, how much of social media do you actually consume? Like when you post something, are you reading the comments or no? For
Yeah,
yourself?
so a big part of kind of being an independent artist is you almost have to engage
Yeah.
with your fans because the fans are everything. So obviously you're going to see some haters in there, but it's worth it for me to go in, read every comment, read every DM, respond to every comment, respond to every DM. Like I am very accessible and I put a lot out there and I tried to be different than other artists. Obviously, if it gets to a point where it's just too crazy to keep up with, I understand artists who like they don't have enough time in the day to respond to every DM and comment, but I take a few hours at the end of the night when I'm just laying in bed. I go through everything and try to comment and respond back and DM back everyone that says something positive and just kind of leave the other ones alone.
Are you able to do that? Like, kind of ignore them?
I really am. I feel like with me, I don't care. Like I have thick skin for myself, but for some reason when it comes to my brother, if someone says anything about him, like the claws come out. For me, like I feel that with my mom. She feels the same way. If someone says something on one of my posts or something on my brother, she's like, "Oh, they have no idea what they're talking about. Like I should just make a burner account." I'm like, "Mom, you need to get off Twitter. You need to get off Instagram. Like just stop. Like if Mike has an outing that didn't go his way. Like, I'm like, Mom, do not look at Twitter. Like, you can't. It's toxic. So I think there comes a point where it's bad to look at it. But for someone like me that is an independent artist, that like the fans are all I have, if there's no engagement with fans, like you kind of have nothing. I mean, as a major label artist as well, but you have a major label that's like backing you with a ton of money and blasting you and marketing you to mass markets, so you don't need to interact with everyone. But for me, that's been, I think, a big part of my success as well as an independent artist is being accessible and being different than other artists out there that just never respond to a comment, never respond to a DM. Like I actually go so far as to see people who engage with my content and DM them myself and be like, "Hey, just want to let you know, like I notice you, I appreciate you, like the support from you as an independent artist means a lot." And I think that goes farther than people may think. Like with someone actually reaching out to you just because you like one of their posts or comment on it, like I feel like I would support an artist that reached out to me personally, thanking me just for engaging with my content. So I try to do that as much as I can.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because I know, because with me and Kyle, like in the baseball content world, we've DM'd players and stuff, and when people don't answer, it like kind of feels shitty. But if when people do answer, that's the ones that you remember and actually, like you said, want to support more. And if they interact with you, really does go a long way. And
No,
I think it's
it,
really cool that you do that.
it does. And that's like the same thing with there, right when Mike got on the Yankees, there was so, I don't know how people, I mean, I guess it's just the internet, found my parents' address, and there was so much fan mail and stuff coming there. And there's only so much time that he has to like sign things and send back. And my dad just said to him, like, do as much of that as you can. I think he said like Arnold Palmer, someone like that, was known for answering all fan mail and like signing things and sending it back. And my dad just tries to preach to my brother as much as he can, like it means a lot to the fans when you do that, and they remember that forever, and that's a big thing in their life if you send them back something. So my dad's always on him with the fan mail that comes to his house, like, "Hey Mike, I think I went through," my dad will sort through it and be like, "Okay, I think these ones are the ones that are worth responding to." So yeah, he tries to do the same.
That's cool. Yeah, that it really does go a long way. It means a lot to fans, I think, and definitely helps to build connections like that.
Yeah, it builds lifelong fans, not
Yeah.
just, a fan for the moment,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
for sure.
Kyle, you have anything else?
I don't think so. I kind of went through my questions.
Yeah, I think that's it. Um, all
Easy
right.
peasy.
Oh, well, let's see. What? Okay, obviously you're obsessed with like music is everything. What else? How do you unplug from music?
Mm. That's been something that I've only learned how to do as of recent. I would say in the past year, I've learned balance. Like, if people ask me my hobbies, I'm like, I don't have any hobbies. What I like, it seems almost like a hobby, singing and music, because it's fun, but like that's my job. And I do think it's fun, so that's why I think I would overwork myself a lot. And especially with the pandemic and just always being home, I was like, oh, I could crank out so much music, but you just need a balance between like personal life and professional life. So I've tried to be better at that. I would say my balance is now I have a nephew and he lives about 15 minutes away. So it's always nice to just go and see him. He's only 9 months old, and I just completely unplug. Like, I just put my phone away. I just dive right into him. He's just so stinking cute. He's gotten us so sick. We just, poor thing, he's been in daycare, but we have been so sick this year, but it's so worth it. We just got over the stomach bug for the second time this week, which is great. But that's been I think a big way for me to unplug is like hanging out with family, not even looking at my phone. It's hard because social media is also like a job to me. So it's not like if I go on social media and I'm just scrolling, it's like for funsies. Like it always ends up being some sort of work that I'm doing on there. So I really try to unplug. I of course love my thrift shopping. I would say that's a hobby for me. Just going shopping in general. But I've really tried to find balance in my life in the past year, and I feel like I am so much healthier mind, body, soul from doing that. You can't, like, burnout is a real thing, and I was feeling that like right after 2020.
Yeah, you definitely need that just to get away from it just for a little bit.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
yeah, just a little bit, but then you go right back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's all we got, right, Kyle? You're good?
I think so. Yeah.
All right.
Olivia, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. It's been amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you guys so much. I so appreciate it. Hopefully maybe I'll see you guys at a game. Are you guys going to opening day by chance?
I'm sure we can make it happen.
We might have to. We
Seriously,
might have.
maybe.
It's on a Thursday at a
Yeah.
weird time, so it's not an
Yeah.
ideal game to go to, but I'm gonna try my hardest to be at opening day. So hopefully we'll be able to meet in
Cool.
person sometime.
All right, yeah,
Yeah,
sounds good. We'll
awesome.
make it happen.
Oh, yeah.
Alrighty, sounds good, guys. Thank you guys so much for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Of
Thank you,
course.
Olivia.
Talk
Thank
to you
you.
soon. Yeah.
Yep, see ya.